I want to share some advice about love that I learned over the years. First one is from my father, Alav Shalom. Growing up, he always told me about when he met my mother and he fell in love with her at first sight, something that runs in the family. And I always asked him growing up, why did you fall in love with her? And he always answered me with a smile and said, I loved her because she loved me back. Now, I know it was much deeper than that, but there's something to that. The power of their love was that it was entirely mutual. The other piece of advice is from a great man, Sam Stone, passed away a number of years ago. He was the president of one of the congregations that I served at, and he truly loved his wife. And one of the things he always said is the secret to the success of his marriage is that he always treated his wife like a queen, like she was the greatest and most important person in the world. Now, the Torah is filled with advice and rules and suggestions about the relationship that we should have with God. And this week's Parashat Tavo is no different. It talks about a number of the laws, but it also gives a kind of principle about the way that we relate, us to God and God to us. It says, Hayom hazeh Hashem Elokecha metzavecha la'asot hachukim. Hashem has commanded you today to do the mitzvot, and that verse ends bechol lavavcha bechol nashecha, and you should serve God and all of His laws with all of your heart and all of your soul. We hear this in the paragraphs of the Shema. Again, it's a repeated theme. But then there's this interesting line there. It talks about how we have created this relationship, and it says, Et Hashem ha'amarta hayom lihiyot lecha lelohim. And God, we have ha'amarta today to be our God, a God for us. And we're going to come back to that word he'emarta. But then in the very next verse, it talks about how God then relates back to us. And it says, V'Hashem he'emircha. And God has he'emircha'd you today. And the reason I didn't translate it is because we're not entirely sure what it means. We have certain letters and roots that we can connect it to, but ultimately there are no words like he'emarta and he'emircha anywhere in the Torah. And when the rabbis get this, they're kind of left with multiple options how to interpret it, whether it's looking up ancient languages, using context, using words that are similar to it. And I want to share two of those solutions. The first one is Rashi. And he uses context about what's happening here. God has asked us to follow him, be loyal to him in the laws, and then both of us have done this word, he'emarta and he'emircha, and it seems to be that each of those words we're kind of choosing the other person. We're picking them to be special, like the word kadosh and unique. So the way Rashi would translate it is, you are setting me aside. We single out God to be our God from all the other options in the world, and God has singled us out to be his people. But the most important thing is this relationship is entirely mutual. Each of us have agreed to accept and adopt the other person. Then we jump forward a little bit in history and we get to the Ibn Ezra, Avraham Ibn Ezra, who's a brilliant grammarian. He's an expert at language, and he looks at different languages, including Arabic and Hebrew, and he finds a verse in the book of Yeshayahu talking about fruits and trees, and it uses a word that sounds very, very much like he'emarta, the word amir. And it talks about the fruit that's the pinnacle, the best on the tree, the top of the tree. And he says he'emarta means to make something the best or the greatest. In other words, to make something the most important and to treat it like it's the best there is. Similar to the Arabic word amir, who's the ruler, the greatest one of all. And what we learn from both of these interpretations, like I began with, is the key to our relationship with God is that it needs to be mutual, and we need to let the other one know that they are the most important thing. Now, if we just have mutuality, we just have a mutual relationship that's beautiful, but it's not necessarily that powerful. It doesn't inspire in us this loving passion, bechol levavcha, with all your heart. But if we just put someone up on a pedestal, then there's not really a relationship there. We may treat them beautifully, and if they learn that we care about them more than anything else in our lives, they'll feel special, but that doesn't mean it's love. So in any relationship that we truly want to last, that we truly value, we need both of these things. We need to put the other person first, to let them know how important they are, but that's only a start. To make sure it's actually a relationship where there's an opportunity for growth, an opportunity to accomplish something greater than ourselves. Rambam talks about that. The highest relationship is one where we're striving to do something greater than ourselves, a life of Torah and good deeds. It needs to be a relationship that goes both ways, and that's the point of the brit, the covenant. God doesn't just say, follow me, end of story. God says, you follow me, and I'll do for you. you have to do for me and I do for you. It goes both ways. And that's one of the unique things about the relationship between God and the Jewish people. So the next time you look at a relationship in your life, think to yourself, is there mutuality in this relationship? Are we both in it for the same thing? And also at the end of the day, is this person more important to me than anything else, anything physical, material, the other people in my world? And if you have both of those, well, I can't guarantee it'll be a perfect relationship. It's a great way to start. I wish everyone a Shabbat Shalom and be well.